I didn't find out on our anniversary. I knew weeks before it. The envelope had arrived quietly, mixed in with ordinary mail, no warning attached. Just a name, a lab logo, and results that didn't require interpretation. The child wasn't mine. There was no dramatic reaction when I read it. No shaking hands, no surge of anger. Just a flat, settling certainty, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. Too many late nights. Too many explanations that didn't quite align. Too much confidence when questions came up. The test didn't accuse her of anything new. It confirmed what my instincts had already stopped arguing with. I didn't confront her. Not then. I didn't raise my voice or demand explanations. I didn't want a performance, I wanted clarity, and I already had it. When she talked about our anniversary plans, she was cheerful, animated. Already halfway into the evening she had imagined. She mentioned the restaurant twice, made a joke about how this year should be special, dropped casual hints about how other husbands surprised their wives. Cars, jewelry, big gestures. I listened, calmly. Every word landed against a decision that had already been made. The anniversary wasn't a chance to celebrate anymore. It was a deadline, a moment she had chosen for expectations, attention, and spectacle. I let her have all of that. I booked the table. I dressed the part. I even let her believe the night was about rewarding loyalty. The DNA results stayed sealed in the envelope. Not hidden, not forgotten, just waiting. Some people think the hardest part of betrayal is finding out. It isn't. The hardest part is deciding what truth deserves, privacy or witnesses. By the time we walked into that restaurant, I wasn't hoping for anything. I wasn't angry, I wasn't conflicted, I was finished. And she had no idea the gift she was about to receive had nothing to do with love, and everything to do with the end of it. She didn't say it outright, but she made sure the idea was planted. Every time the anniversary came up, it was wrapped in comparison. Someone she followed online had just been surprised with a new car. A coworker's husband had gone all out. She mentioned these things casually, like observations, not expectations. But the meaning was clear. "This year feels different," she said more than once. "Bigger." She smiled when she said it, already picturing the reaction she expected to have. Public. Impressive. Something people would notice. She chose the restaurant herself, one of those places where waiters linger just long enough to witness moments worth talking about. She dressed carefully that night, checking her reflection twice before we left, satisfied with how she looked beside me. The image mattered. In the car, she joked about how nervous I must be. "I can tell when you're hiding something," she said, smirking. "If this is another card and flowers situation, I might be disappointed." She laughed, certain it was harmless. I said nothing. At the table, she leaned forward when the menus were cleared, eyes bright with anticipation. She asked if anyone was watching us yet, if this was the moment. The confidence in her voice wasn't arrogance, it was entitlement. The kind that comes from believing you've earned a reward simply by existing in the role you play. She had no doubt that whatever I'd brought would confirm her version of reality, that the night would end with admiration, maybe envy, definitely attention. She believed she was about to be celebrated. I watched her, calm, already past the point of disappointment or anger. The envelope rested inside my jacket, thin and ordinary, nothing like the object she expected it to be. She had asked for something memorable. She just didn't know what kind. When dessert plates were cleared and the waiter stepped back, she reached across the table and touched my hand. "So," she said lightly, drawing the word out, "are you going to make me wait all night?" A couple at the next table glanced over, curious. She noticed and smiled wider. This was exactly the kind of attention she wanted. I reached into my jacket and placed the envelope on the table between us. No box, no ribbon. Just a plain, white envelope. For a second she laughed, assuming it was part of the act. "Very funny," she said. "What is this, a clue?" She picked it up, weighing it in her hand, brow furrowing slightly. It wasn't heavy enough to be keys, not thick enough to hide anything impressive. Her smile tightened, Just a fraction. "This better not be some kind of joke," she said, half smiling, half warning. People around us were still eating, still talking. The restaurant hummed with normalcy, completely unaware of what was about to land at our table. She slid a finger under the flap and paused, glancing up at me as if waiting for reassurance. I gave her none. She opened it anyway. The moment stretched. Her eyes scanned the page quickly at first, then slower. The color drained from her face so fast it was almost imperceptible. Her mouth opened as if to speak, then closed again. For a few seconds, she stared at the paper, not moving, not breathing, as though rereading it might change what it said. It didn't. The envelope hadn't been a surprise. It had been a verdict. Her hands started shaking before she fully understood why. It wasn't dramatic at first, just a slight tremor, the kind you might mistake for nerves. She read the page again, slower this time, as if precision could undo the meaning. Her eyes stopped on the same line and stayed there. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. She swallowed hard. The air seemed to leave her lungs all at once. Her face went pale, then flushed, then pale again. This wasn't confusion anymore. It was recognition, the kind that hits the body before the mind catches up. She looked up at me, searching for something. Anger, accusation, denial. Anything that would suggest this was a misunderstanding. I didn't give her that. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I watched as the truth settled into her posture, her shoulders collapsing inward like something heavy had just been dropped on them. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Tears welled quickly, not the quiet kind, but the kind that arrive all at once, uninvited and impossible to control. She tried to breathe through it, pressing the paper flat against the table as if grounding herself might help. People started to notice. The couple nearby stopped talking. A waiter slowed as he passed, sensing something wrong. She wiped at her face with the back of her hand, smearing makeup she'd taken such care with earlier. Her composure was gone. Whatever mask she'd worn into the restaurant had shattered completely. She finally whispered my name, barely audible, like saying it might rewind the last few seconds. It didn't. The DNA test didn't accuse her. It didn't argue. It didn't ask for explanations. It simply stated a fact she could no longer outrun. And sitting there, breaking down in the middle of a restaurant she had chosen for attention, she understood something with brutal clarity. This wasn't a gift. It was the end of the lie. She waited for me to say something. I could see it in her eyes and the way she kept glancing up between shallow breaths, searching my face for a cue. Anger would have helped her. Accusations, questions, even shouting. Any reaction she could grab onto and turn into a conversation. I gave her none of it. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't ask how long it had been going on. I didn't ask why. Those questions belonged to a version of us that no longer existed. Answers wouldn't change what was written on that page, or what had already happened in our marriage. She tried to speak anyway. A few broken words slipped out, cut off by tears. Her hand reached across the table and stopped halfway, unsure whether it was allowed to finish the motion. I didn't pull away. I didn't meet it either. Silence did what words couldn't. The restaurant had grown quieter around us, not completely silent but careful. Conversations lowered, chairs shifted. People sensed the collapse without understanding its cause. She was crying openly now, shoulders shaking, makeup ruined, the paper crumpled slightly under her fingers. I remained still. There was nothing left to explain, nothing to negotiate, nothing to save. Comfort would have implied forgiveness, and forgiveness would have implied a future. I wasn't offering either. She finally understood that this wasn't a confrontation. It wasn't an argument she could talk her way through. It was a line she had already crossed, and the distance back was no longer mine to measure. The hardest thing for her wasn't the test itself. It was realizing I wasn't going to say a word to make this easier. I stood up slowly, careful not to rush the movement. I placed some cash on the table beside the envelope, enough to cover the dinner she had wanted so badly to turn into a performance. The DNA paper stayed where it was. It belonged to her now. She looked up at me again, eyes swollen, panic finally breaking through the shock. "Please," she said quietly, the word barely forming. It wasn't an apology. It was a reflex. A last attempt to stop something that was already finished. I didn't respond. I put on my jacket, nodded once, not to her but to the moment itself, and turned away. No explanations, no warnings, no conditions. I walked past the staring tables, past the waiter who pretended not to notice, and out into the night air without looking back. There was no dramatic ending inside that restaurant. No shouting, no confrontation. Just a woman sitting alone with a piece of paper that told her exactly how much damage she had done. I didn't leave angry. I didn't leave victorious. I left certain. Some people think betrayal deserves closure, discussion, or forgiveness. It doesn't. It deserves honesty and an ending that doesn't invite negotiation. The marriage didn't end at that table. It had ended long before, the moment trust was replaced with deception. That night was just when I stopped carrying a lie that wasn't mine, and I never went back to explain it.